So Paul, chapter 11 of your New Normal book is giving chemical companies guidance on how to succeed in this really increasingly volatile world. What are the most important factors, would you say, for success?
I think if we look at the areas of change, what do we see? And we highlight these in the chapter. Instead of the smooth, really more or less unbroken growth of 25 years in the super cycle, what we're now seeing is much more volatility, much more uncertainty, much more complexity about things. We've got political factors coming in as well as social factors, as well as economic factors, and how do these balance out? And of course we've also got much more ambiguity. You and I can discuss an issue and we can honestly take a different point of view on it, which wasn't necessarily the case or so easy 5 or 10 years ago.
Okay. Why are markets moving from being essentially supply driven to demand driven, would you say?
Well, I think the way that this volatility is moving is that essentially the consumer is changing. This is the demographic change that we've talked about through the whole book. The ageing of the Western baby boomers, the fact that a third of your population now in the West, is nearly 300 million people, is over 55. A tremendous change. We've never had a size of this population that age before. And so therefore the demand patterns of when we were all younger and we were getting married and we were settling down and we were having children and buying cars and buying new houses and so on, we're not doing any of that anymore. We're doing other things. And we won't find out what it is that the consumers are doing and where the future demand is unless we're out there at that end of the value chain. Up till now, we've tended to look at GDP and looked at chemical sales as being a multiplier of that. Today, we have to follow the individual sectors of the consumer market because people who are 25 are going to have quite different needs from people who are 55.
You also highlight the importance of shared value. Can you just explain what that is and why it's important?
One of the big issues that people have a lot of trouble with, including myself these days, is we've lived in a world where economics has basically dominated the discussion. Does it make sense for me to be in this market or not is answered by, am I going to make a profit? Okay, maybe I've got to invest a bit to get there, but fundamentally, can I make a profit and therefore can I be lowest cost? If I'm not lowest cost, then I'm not going to be successful longer term. But look at where we are today. Just one example. The US got the second lowest cost for polyethylene now in the world, after the Middle East. Can it sell this product? It's finding it increasingly difficult. It can't sell, for example, anymore in the volumes that it did for polyethylene into China. Its volume has come down by half in the last 3 years. How can this be? You say, we've got the second cheapest polyethylene in the world. China has some of the most expensive. Well, it's the shared value concept. China wants to keep people employed.
Yeah.
So shutting down a factory in order to buy from America makes no sense. So the rules of engagement are changing. It's no longer just economics. It's social factors about employment and stability and political factors as well coming in and different ways of thinking. And we in the chemical industry, we have to adapt to this because if we keep thinking it's just going to be about economics, we're driving ourselves up a dead end. And that's why really, as a roadmap, what we're pointing out is there are these areas now of affordability, of being demand-driven, and these are going to be the key drivers for the future.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you, Will.